My brother was out with his friends, and during that time the police came and literally scraped everybody off the streets near my house, including my friends. I didn't know where my brother was, and I didn't know what was happening with my friends. And one of my friends had a young daughter. She couldn't have been more than 2. But he was home alone with her, and he was begging the police officers to be able to find somebody to be able to stay with her, because he had to leave because he had been on the streets, the police had said, and everybody was being carried away. And he begged for somebody to be able to stay with her or to be able to take care of her, and the police said no. It's things like that, those sorts of horrible events that happen, that there is no redress, that there's nothing that happens after something like that, that made it very clear to me that somebody had to do something. In Jamaica, we have a language, Jamaican Creole. But most Jamaicans aren't able to use Jamaican in everyday life in Jamaica. So you go to official offices, you have to use English. But because we have 2 different languages in Jamaica, if you don't know English, you are severely disadvantaged. There are things you just cannot imagine getting access to. There are government services you don't know how to use and to have work and function and operate for you. So I was part of a constitutional committee for language rights, essentially saying that the idea that English is superior to Jamaican comes out of a very colonial slavery past. So we worked hard to see if that would be part of the Jamaican constitution. It wasn't. But that advocacy means that no government official in Jamaica now can say they don't know that there is a distinction between Jamaican and English, and that people in Jamaica have a right to be able to use the language that they speak. But there are specific historical inequalities that happened as a result of the transatlantic slave trade, the MAFA, the moving of people to the Caribbean as positions of enslaved individuals, and then how the structure of the society is just built to have that continue. I think that there is a place for Caribbean individuals, but that the Caribbean has a real role to play in making the world better. And I think that in making the world better, in making ourselves better, that certainly a certain subset of people, the majority of the people in the region, Black people, should have pride of place in that realigning of just the way we see ourselves and the way we do things and what we consider to be the best place for Jamaica and other Caribbean countries. The more we fight in the Caribbean for more Caribbean identity, the more we fight for removing ourselves from our colonial past, is the more resistant we become to taking anything from that colonial past. Culturally, men have an understanding of just the place of women that they think is very, what they consider to be culturally acceptable. It's not true, it's not right, but that is the way that we culturally have considered ourselves to be different from the Europeans. Something like gay rights, for example, in the Caribbean, is seen to be Western, seen to be interfering and meddling, and seen to be something that had not been accepted by African traditional cultures, had not been accepted when the people had moved to the Caribbean. And so accepting that sort of right today is accepting a sort of neo-colonialism, that sort of we are not making our own way. The amazing thing about Notre Dame is just the caliber of lawyers that I get to interact with on a daily basis. In our LL.M class, we are a mishmash of very different people from very different cultures, very different backgrounds, who have one thing in common, that we work to making where we come from a little better. We're not overly idealistic. We're not trying to revolutionize where we come from, but we recognize that every single day we do something, hopefully in the future there is some benefit that future generations can see in what the work that we have done. And that means that there are some things that are very different from us, for us culturally, and some things that are frighteningly very similar. So the benefit of being at Notre Dame and the benefit of meeting these people is that I will have connections all across the world, because many of our challenges are similar. concern yourself with the issues that are closest to you. I think that there is a certain benefit to being able to have been affected by something and be able to advocate and speak from a position of truth about it. And so a position of truth about that means you being able to advocate for the issues that are closest to you, that affect you, that matter to you. Sure, you may branch out as you go along, but there's a certain authenticity that most people respond to before they respond to the human rights part of it. They respond to an honest person sharing an honest story about an honest situation, and there is a certain credibility that your advocacy receives when you are able to speak on an issue that matters to you. I don't know what Kevin want me to say out there today, but shout out to the people that who understand this part and one Caribbean.